Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Up here at the cabin today. It's finally Saturday. Up here cooking a 10-pound rib roast in my 14-inch Dutch oven, so I think it's a good opportunity. It's pretty nice out, a little bit cool, to do the tour of the cabin, explain how it was built, and why I used some of the methods I did. So come on and join me. So this all started one day when I think my brother was kind of jokingly suggesting that I build a small stone cabin, like Skyrim cabin or Hobbit cabin. And I don't think he had something quite this large in mind when he suggested that. And I probably picked the most inaccessible area on our entire property. But with the boulders and everything, it was just so wonderful looking that I just had to put it here. So, for starters, the land sloped all the way probably to here, above the top of the fireplace. So that had to be dug down. It was all rock. Some of this rock had to be pulled out with a come-along and pry bars. And these two rocks, the one that my foot's on and the hearthstone, those were both had to be dragged into place. So this one first we dug a big hole down in, and that rock was sitting up here on top of the ground somewhere. So we had to drag it in, drop it in the hole. And then the hearthstone was a large rock that was sitting on a boulder in that corner. So I'll get to that boulder right now. Okay, now I know this might be a little bit hard to see. I don't have the greatest camera in the world, but can't really afford one right now. But this is the lower section of that boulder that's in the corner just to the right of the fireplace. That it was rounded and it slopes up to probably somewhere in here, or maybe even a little bit higher in the very corner. So I had to deal with that because I could not move this boulder. So what happened is I had to actually carve steps into this boulder, shelves, to stack my stone on, because all the walls are dry stacked. The cement here is just chinking to keep out vermin and stuff. So I have the greatest respect for people who carve stone by hand now, because that is a lot of work with nothing but some chisels and a pickaxe. Alright, so I'll try to slide in a picture that shows a little bit of that work. I didn't document all of this real well. When I had spare time, I was working on it. Recording stuff like this takes a great deal of time to do. So I didn't do that. I've got some pictures and that's about it. So I'll slide that picture in there. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to do before the walls got up is I needed a really good solid door casing. So one of the few materials that I bought for the cabin was these railroad ties that I used for the door casing. So they're mortised and tenon in each corner, and then it's got steel braces and more steel braces inside. So the walls aren't stacked against it, but I really felt better having a good solid doorway with these stone walls on each side being dry stacked like they are. So now the rest of the woodwork and the ironwork my brother and I did. So he forged a lot of this. I did some work not as good of a forger as he is. And the wood is all harvested from our property, and our neighbor has a 100-year-old circular sawmill that he cut it on for us, and we helped him with that, trimmed the wood up and so forth, stacked it and dried it before using it. So this door is solid white oak, and I did a shiplap on the joints. It's treated with linseed oil, and we cut our own glass for it. And also, you know, like these 9x12 sill plate beams, those were cut, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, as far as ironwork, he also, my brother, I helped him with it, but again, he's better at it than I am. Built a warded lock, so it works from both sides. Made the entire lock, the key, as well as the normal latch with the thumb trigger there on it, and it works really well. So it closes up, locks smoothly, it's good and secure, not going anywhere. So also, I just wanted to point out, this is the rest of that big boulder that I had mentioned earlier that's in the corner. So you can see how it really slopes in towards the cabin, and I had to put a little cement there to seal it off, keep water out, but it's staying really dry so far. So I'll move on to another section. So as my wall started getting high enough, I had to come up with what I wanted to use for my chimney flue. Initially I was going to use clay tiles, but I've been given some heavy wall pipe. It's about 3/8 inch, it's a 12-inch diameter, and it's 9 feet tall. So I was able to weld a large steel base plate to it that it goes through, and I also put a damper in it that's made out of stainless steel, so it won't rot out or anything. And then the pipe is actually anchored to this large boulder here with some steel straps that have expanding anchors going in there. And we also built the spark arrestor that goes on top, and with all the dry leaves and stuff up here, that was a really important thing. So it draws really well, and it seems to do a really good job. So okay, this is one of the big sill plates I was talking about earlier. They are 9x12 inches, and 3 of them are 16 feet long. Now these are poplar, so they're not as heavy as some woods would be, like oak or something, but I hand cut all the mortise and tenon joints, and then I treated them with a copper sulfite solution. And to darken up some of this wood, I made my own walnut stain using black walnut hulls and a little bit of creosote from our fireplace. So it darkened them up a little bit so they don't stand out as much. But getting these up here was very interesting. It was just my brother and I, and we screwed wooden handles to these beams so that we could get them up on the wall and get them in place. And it was certainly an interesting thing to do. So, and then the rest of the wood, these are 1x, and these are 2x8s, the rafters. So okay, so one of the last things here I wanted to go over real quick is the roof surface, and it's
grown in pretty well in a couple years' time. It's doing pretty decent. But the moss I gathered from a valley over here in our property. It's really damp over there, and it has a lot of good moss growing in it. And it seems to have acclimated really well up here. A lot of the moss is a little brown, so right now. But I gathered it all up in sheets, and underneath it's just asphalt shingle material, the like 3-foot wide rolls of it, and then it has tar paper underneath that, and it's laid on top of 1x poplar boards underneath. So the moss added a lot to it, just overall look and blending in with the hillside, so I went through the extra work to do that. So I think it came out pretty decent. Okay, this is the 100-foot long footpath that I built to have access to the only trail that I can kind of get a tractor or something up. It's still very steep coming up this hill, but I was able to haul some stuff in via that path, but I still had to carry it in by this footpath by hand to get it to the cabin. And there you can see one of the wooden shutters, and this is the south side of the cabin, and those shutters have a latch on the inside and a pull rope that you'll see from the inside in the next section here. Okay, back inside now. So my brother made these windows to go into the frames. They open in the center, kind of fold up like a butterfly. They have little spring-loaded latches. So he made the entire framework for those and cut the glass out. Just all this is pretty much from scraps that we have laying around, old windows and stuff. So he made those. And then the shutter from the inside, got a little wooden hole there that I made for the rope to go through. So you pull on it, you open the shutter, and then you wrap it on the cleat here, and you can set the shutter at whatever height you want. Now there's another one over here that operates the chandelier, which I actually forged that. And I'll show you that here real quick. So it's just a candle chandelier, but it puts off quite a bit of light. It reflects off of the ceiling. You just do that, drop it down, light it, and then you pull it back up and so forth. So it works really well. Puts off quite a bit of light in here. It's no modern lighting system, but it works pretty decent. So then I laid down flat stone for the floor and put in cement to hold that in place to just keep everything in here dry as possible. Next thing I wanted was a decent cabinet to store things in and keep the pests out of it. So, I don't keep any food or anything up here, but it keeps things clean. Then this is a old piece of marble that I got a hold of for a small countertop, and that's anchored into the stone in the wall. And other than that, the table that's made from leftovers from doing the ceiling and stuff. So then this is hand forged, the crane for the fireplace. That roast smells like it's coming along pretty well. And all the fireplace tools, those were forged by us. And I'm not sure if I really left anything out, but that I think covers most of it. If there's anything that you think you'd be interested in seeing in my future videos, please let me know, and I'll see if there's any way that I can work it into them and maybe explain a little bit more. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Have a good day.